The Cumans were a formidable nomadic people who roamed the Eurasian steppes between the 10th and 13th centuries. Originating from the region that's now modern day Kazakhstan, they played a significant role in the history of Eastern Europe and the Eastern Roman Empire. The Cumans, also known as the Palavcians in Russian chronicles, were Turkic speaking nomads. Cumans were a highly diverse group phenotypically, with some exhibiting stereotypical Northern European looks, others exhibiting stereotypical East Asian looks, and everything in between. Their society was predominantly pastoral, relying heavily on the herding of horses, sheep, and cattle. Like other nomadic people, they lived in yurts, portable, circular tents made of felt or skins that allowed them to move easily across the vast steppes. Cuman society was organized around tribal lines. Leadership was typically held by khans, who were both military leaders and political figures. These leaders were often from noble families, and their authority was based on both lineage and personal prowess. Loyalty to the tribe and the khan was paramount, and social cohesion was maintained through kinship ties and shared traditions. The Cumans practiced a form of shamanism, worshipping natural forces and ancestral spirits, often called Tengrism today, based upon the chief deity, Tengri, the god of the sky. Shamans played a crucial role in their society, acting as intermediaries between the physical and spiritual worlds. With the expansion of neighboring states, some Cumans began to convert to Christianity and Islam depending upon where they settled. Cumans who eventually settled in the Balkans and Hungary adopted Christianity, while those who settled in Anatolia tended to adopt Islam. The political landscape of the Cumans was fluid, characterized by shifting alliances and rivalries. They didn't establish a traditional centralized state, but operated through a confederation of tribes, which at its height spread across the Eurasian steppe from Hungary to China. The Cumans had complex relationships with their neighbors. They often clashed with the Kievan Rus, but also served as mercenaries and allies when interests aligned. Their interactions with the Byzantine Empire were similarly multifaceted, involving both warfare and trade. The Cumans played a pivotal role in regional politics, sometimes tipping the balance of power through their alliances and mercenary services. In the late 11th century, the Cumans formed a confederation with the Kipchaks, another Turkic nomadic group. This alliance strengthened their military capabilities and extended their influence from the Danube to the Volga River. The Confederation became a significant force until the Mongol invasions shattered the nomadic power structures in the 13th century. Warfare was an integral part of Cuman life, with their nomadic lifestyle and expertise in horsemanship making them formidable opponents on the battlefield. As you may have been able to guess, the Cumans were exceptional horsemen and archers. They employed the composite bow, a powerful weapon made from wood, horn, and sinew, which took incredible strength to properly draw. Mounted archery allowed them to execute hit-and-run tactics, harassing enemy formations and retreating before a counterattack could be organized. They used feigned retreats to lure enemies into ambushes and relied on their knowledge of the terrain. Their tactics were well suited to the open steppes, where maneuverability was a decisive factor. The Cumans also utilized psychological warfare, employing intimidation tactics such as rapid, unpredictable attacks to unnerve their foes. Much like the Mongols later on, their opponents often vastly overestimated the size of their armies, as their mobility led to their hosts being double counted, so to speak. The Cumans weren't just expert archers. They also wielded sabers, lances, and shields. They wore light armor made from leather or padded cloth, which didn't impede their movement. Some warriors donned mail or other forms of heavier armor, especially those of higher status, who could afford better protection. The Mongol invasions destroyed the Cuman-Kipchak confederations, with many of the surviving Cumans joining up and assimilating to Tatar culture. However, many Cumans chose to migrate westward. Some were assimilated into Hungarian society, where they were granted land in exchange for military service. Notably, the Cumans ended up holding such influence in Hungary that by the end of the 13th century, a Cuman noblewoman, Elizabeth, had become the queen consort of Hungary, then the regent for her son. Her son would later go on to be crowned Ladislaus IV, better known to history by his nickname, the Cuman. The Clovis culture represents one of the earliest well-established human societies in North America. Flourishing around 13,000 years ago, these prehistoric people are best known for their distinctive stone tools and their significant role in shaping early human history on the continent. The Clovis culture was first identified in the 1930s near Clovis, New Mexico, where archaeologists uncovered unique projectile points. These Clovis points became the hallmark of the culture, showcasing advanced stone tool technology of the Paleo-Indian period. The widespread distribution of these artifacts across North America indicates a rapid expansion and adaptation of the Clovis people to diverse environments. Clovis people are believed to have descended from Asian populations who migrated to North America via the Bering Land Bridge during the last ice age. This migration marks a pivotal event in human history, representing one of the earliest known movements of humans into the New World. The adaptability and innovation of the Clovis culture facilitated their spread across vast territories, from the northern plains to the southern regions of the present-day United States. The most distinctive feature of the Clovis culture is their sophisticated stone tool technology. Clovis points are finely crafted spearheads with a characteristic flute or groove at the base, allowing them to be securely attached to spear shafts. This innovation improved hunting efficiency, particularly in pursuing large game like mammoths and mastodons. Their toolkit included not only spear points but also knives and scrapers, essential for processing animal hides and other materials necessary for survival. While direct evidence of Clovis social structures is limited due to the prehistoric context, archaeological findings suggest they lived in small, mobile bands. These groups likely consisted of extended families that cooperated in hunting and gathering activities, essential for their nomadic lifestyle. Cooperation within groups was crucial, especially in hunting large prey that required coordinated efforts. Social bonds were probably strengthened through shared rituals and traditions, although specific cultural practices remain largely unknown. Leadership roles in Clovis societies were likely based on experience and skill, particularly in hunting and tool-making. Decision-making processes were probably communal, reflecting the egalitarian nature of small hunter-gatherer groups. There's no evidence of complex political structures or hierarchies, suggesting that Clovis polities were relatively simple, though like many things with prehistoric people we can't know for certain. Due to the scarcity of direct evidence, specific details about Clovis warfare are speculative, though experts do believe that raiding activity was almost certainly engaged in. It's thought that the advanced weaponry developed for hunting could have been employed in conflicts as well. The Clovis economy, so to speak, is thought to be heavily reliant on hunting megafauna. Evidence from hunting sites shows they targeted large animals like mammoths, mastodons, and ancient bison. This focus on big game hunting required sophisticated tools and coordinated group strategies. In addition to hunting, Clovis groups gathered plant foods, small game, and other resources to supplement their diet. This diversified subsistence strategy was vital for survival, especially during periods when large game was scarce. While there is limited evidence of anything approximating trade networks, the widespread distribution of Clovis points made from non-local materials suggests some level of interaction between groups. Some theories propose that intensive hunting by Clovis people contributed to the extinction of several megafauna species. However, this remains a topic of debate, with changing weather patterns during the Pleistocene also considered a significant factor. The Clovis culture holds a crucial place in understanding the early peopling of the Americas. Their technological innovations, particularly in tool making, set the foundation for subsequent Native American cultures. While much about their society remains a mystery at present, ongoing archaeological research continues to shed light on these early inhabitants of North America. The Numidians, an ancient people who inhabited present-day Algeria, as well as parts of Tunisia and Libya, played an important role in the history of the Mediterranean. Despite being overshadowed by their more powerful neighbors, the Numidians developed a distinct identity and maintained a strong presence in North Africa for several centuries. The Numidians were divided into two major tribal groups, one in the east and one in the west. Initially, these two factions operated independently, but during the Second Punic War, King Massinissa successfully unified them into a single kingdom called Numidia. Massinissa's reign was a pivotal moment for the Numidians, transforming them from a loose collection of tribes into a centralized state allied with Rome and playing a significant role in the regional geopolitics. Numidian society was characterized by both nomadic and sedentary lifestyles. Many Numidians were pastoralists, living in the arid regions of North Africa and moving their herds to different grazing areas throughout the year. However, there were also settled communities, particularly in areas near the coast and in the capital city, Sirte. These settled groups engaged in agriculture, and under Massinissa's reign, there was a push toward intensive farming practices, including the cultivation of wheat, barley, olives, and grapes. This focus on agriculture helped Numidia become an important breadbasket for the Roman Empire in subsequent years. The presence of oil presses and Punic-style buildings in Sirte suggests that Numidian culture was significantly influenced by their interactions with Carthage. The Numidian political landscape was dominated by a system of tribal kingships, where authority was concentrated in the hands of local rulers. Before unification, the two major tribes in the east and west were led by their respective kings, who often allied with or fought against Carthage and Rome, depending on the political situation. Following Massinissa's death, his successors faced challenges in maintaining the kingdom's stability. Jugurtha, one of Massinissa's grandsons, is particularly notable for his conflict with Rome, known as the Jugurthine War in the late 2nd century BC. Jugurtha's efforts to resist Roman influence and maintain Numidian independence ultimately failed, leading to his capture and the gradual incorporation of Numidia into the Roman sphere of influence. The Jugurthine War illustrated the complexities of Numidian politics, as internal rivalries and external pressures from Rome made it difficult for the kingdom to remain autonomous. The Numidians were renowned for their cavalry, which was considered among the finest in the ancient Roman sphere of influence. Numidian horsemen were highly skilled and played a crucial role in several major conflicts, including the Second Punic War. The Numidian cavalry were light cavalry that relied on speed, agility, and expertise in hit-and-run tactics. They wore little to no armor, and were armed primarily with javelins, making them ideal for skirmishing and harassing enemy formations. Their ability to quickly strike and retreat made them a formidable force on the battlefield, particularly against less mobile opponents. The Numidian cavalry was famously employed by both Hannibal and the Romans. In addition to their cavalry, the Numidians were skilled in guerrilla warfare. During the Jugurthine War, Jugurtha used his knowledge of the local terrain and the mobility of his forces to wage a prolonged campaign against the Roman legions. His tactics included ambushes, hit-and-run attacks, and the disruption of Roman supply lines, which frustrated the Roman commanders and prolonged the conflict for several years. Despite Jugurtha's eventual defeat, his methods of warfare left a lasting impression on the Romans and demonstrated the effectiveness of Numidian military strategy. The legacy of the Numidians is often overshadowed by the larger empires that surrounded them, but their contributions to the history of North Africa and the Mediterranean are significant. Masinissa's unification of the Numidian tribes and his agricultural reforms helped transform Numidia into a prosperous kingdom that later became an important part of the Roman Empire. The Numidian cavalry, with its unique style of warfare, left a lasting impact on military tactics and was highly valued by both Carthaginian and Roman commanders. The Yuezhi were an ancient Indo-European nomadic group whose movements and interactions significantly shaped the history of Central Asia and beyond. Emerging from the steppes of northwest China, they played a pivotal role in cultural exchanges along the Silk Road and established the influential Kushan Empire. Originally dwelling in the grasslands of the eastern Tarim Basin and Gansu Corridor, the Yuezhi were first mentioned in Chinese historical texts, like the records of the Grand Historian by Sima Qian. Their society was characterized by nomadic pastoralism, relying heavily on horse breeding and herding. In the 2nd century BC, pressure from the Xiongnu, another powerful nomadic confederation, forced the Yuezhi to migrate westward. The Yuezhi's social structure was clan-based, with leadership often determined by noble lineages. Their society valued warrior prowess and horsemanship, essential traits for survival and dominance on the steppes. After their westward migration, the Yuezhi split into two groups, the Greater Yuezhi and the Lesser Yuezhi. The Greater Yuezhi eventually settled in Bactria, a region that had been part of the Greco-Bactrian kingdom, and laid the foundations for the Kushan Empire. The Kushan Empire, which lasted from the 1st to the 3rd centuries AD, became a melting pot of cultures, integrating Greek, Persian, Indian, and Yuezhi nomadic elements. The Kushans adopted the Greek alphabet for their inscriptions and coinage, but also embraced local languages and scripts, showcasing their adaptability and administrative acumen. As nomads, the Yuezhi excelled in cavalry warfare. They employed swift horse archers who could execute rapid attacks and retreats, a tactic known as the Parthian shot. Their military strategies relied on mobility, surprise, and the extensive use of composite bows. When they established the Kushan Empire, they expanded their military to include infantry and war elephants, especially in campaigns extending into the Indian subcontinent. The Kushan military was not just formidable but also diverse, incorporating soldiers from various ethnic backgrounds within their empire. The Yuezhi economy transitioned significantly over time. Initially as nomads, they depended on livestock and traded animal products and horses with neighboring settled societies. Their migration brought them to the crossroads of the Silk Road, where they became key players in transcontinental trade. Under the Kushan Empire, the economy flourished due to control over major trade routes. The Kushans facilitated the exchange of goods such as silk from China, spices from India, and glassware from Rome. They issued gold coins featuring a blend of Hellenistic and Indian deities, reflecting both the empire's economic prosperity and cultural syncretism. The Yuezhi's most enduring legacy lies in their cultural contributions. The Kushan Empire was instrumental in the spread of Buddhism. Kushan rulers like Kanishka the Great patronized Buddhist institutions and sponsored the construction of stupas and monasteries. This support helped Buddhism spread into Central Asia and China, profoundly influencing the religious landscape of the region. Artistically, the Kushan period saw the development of the Gandhara art style, which combined Greek artistic techniques with Buddhist themes. This fusion resulted in realistic sculptures of the Buddha with Greco-Roman features, a testament to the cultural exchanges facilitated by the Yuezhi. Don't forget to check out my main channel, Lazy Chill Zone, where I discuss unsolved mysteries, urban legends, true crime, and the occult. The link is in the comments below. Remember to like, subscribe, and share this video if you enjoyed it.